Now overall, the Super Mario series is quite straightforward. It's just a platforming game after all, so story isn't too important. However, at times you will see things in the game that are a complete mystery, especially characters and locations that could have a story behind them, but no one knows about it. And in Super Mario World, we see a place just like that, a level called the Sunken Ghost Ship. How did it get here, and what went wrong for it in the end? Well, let's find out. Now all of this started with one of the best 2D Mario games in history, Super Mario World for the SNES, which was released in the 1990s. Here you come across a weird level known as the mysterious Sunken Ship, which could be found in the middle of the map. It serves as a gateway to the Valley of Bowser, because after beating Wendy O. Koopa, you have to swim through it to get there. Now when entering this abandoned ship, you will encounter a ton of bullet bills, mines, Koopas, and a massive disappearing Boo Buddy swarm, marking the only appearance of Boos outside of ghost houses in the game. After Mario beats the level, a giant cave entrance that looks like Bowser's head will rise up out of the water, and Mario will enter the cave, which leads to the Valley of Bowser. However, how did this thing ever get here, and why did it crash in the middle of the water, when there's a whole island around it where it could go to? Well, when you go looking for it, we actually do get some information, but sadly enough, it's not a whole lot, because in the manual, it actually says the following about it. This is a strange looking sunken ship. Haven't you seen it somewhere before? That's right, in Super Mario Bros. 3, Koopa and his kids used the flying ship to make life tough for Mario. I wouldn't be surprised if Bowser's lurking somewhere nearby. So it is explained in some ways. It's one of those large airships with propellers and burner engines that can soar through the sky. You know, these things. It does make sense, because those are most commonly equipped with cannons, bullet bills, bombs, and way more. And they are mostly used to invade or to keep Princess Peach captive until Mario comes around the corner, at which point she gets taken away to Bowser's castle. However, while all of this sounds very convincing, cute, and is even from the source itself, it sadly enough doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you look into it all. While this could explain why this level has a magic ball, which are very powerful items from Super Mario Bros. 3, there's one problem. They were found in fortresses and not in airships. And this is also the only level in Super Mario World that has a magic ball, so there must be more to it. So while that already doesn't make a whole lot of sense, that's only the start of it all. Because in addition, its front does not match any of the Koopalings airships. To be honest, the whole story that it's just one of the airships from Super Mario Bros. 3 doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so we have to dig deeper. Because when it comes down to it, there are a couple of options to what could have happened here. Now the first one, which is quite obvious to some, is that they used this airship to make the journey to Dinosaur Island before the events of Super Mario World. Because remember, the Koopa King and his Koopalings came there beforehand to trap Yoshi and his friends in enchanted eggs. They had to eliminate the opposition there as they secretly rebuilt their forces after all. So of course they got there quite early to be ready for Mario, Luigi, and Peach. And it could be that this sunken ship is the one they used to go to the island and establish an army there to take it over. So could it be that this one ship is the original one they used to arrive there instead of being from Super Mario Bros. 3? Well, it's certainly possible. We even see troops and supplies there like Koopa Troopas and mines. But there are a couple of things wrong with this idea. Mostly that they would require more supplies than one airship can carry. Remember, they were taking over an entire island and most likely build a lot of the fortresses on the island as well. So one airship probably wouldn't be enough, making it unlikely that this was their original airship. But there are actually a lot more possibilities. Maybe this wasn't the first one to arrive on the island. No, not at all. But one that was coming later on to bring more troops and supplies. Nothing more. There are two things that could support this possibility. First of all, when you go through the level, you will come across a ton of crates. There are so many, in fact, that we have never ever seen this before. Not even in Super Mario Bros. 3, where they were seen a whole lot more. This already shows that they were the main load of the ship, which must have had a reason. And I think it's to make sure that their army had everything they needed in their grand campaign. And it could also explain why it's found there in the water close to the final world. which is my last argument for this option. If it was supposed to deliver supplies, then it could be that the final destination was Bowser's Castle in World 7. But how did it crash in the end? Well, there are two options in this scenario. First of all, an accident. You can see that the area where it crashed is pretty dangerous. Around the mouth that leads to the Valley of Bowser, we see a ton of stone pillars in a circle, and it could be that they have a purpose: to keep enemies away from their main base. It's quite dangerous to fly past those or sail around them after all, making them great at stopping anything from coming in. And it could be that even the Koopa Troopa forces had problems with this at times, and so even one of their own ships crashed thanks to them. All of this would explain what it was doing, why it was even there in the first place, and how it met its end. Now, while this sounds like a solid option, there are a number of arguments that just can't be confirmed, sadly enough. For example, we don't know if the stone pillars surrounding the gateway to World 7 are high enough to be a problem for an airship, and we also don't know if it was even making a trip to the Valley of Bowser. So while it's possible, we don't have a whole lot of confirmation. Now, while the stone pillars are a very viable option, something else could have also happened. Maybe they were attacked by someone. There are a bunch of other species and tribes living on Dinosaur Island after all. So maybe some of them didn't want the Koopa Troopas and their mighty airship to be anywhere near them. And so they attacked it in the end and took it down, ending up somewhere at the bottom of the water, forgotten and lost. Although we will get back to this later on in the video, because I have more to say about it. Now I have one last option for all of this that would actually explain a whole lot. And the scenario would be very different from what I just mentioned. It would have happened a long time ago, instead of right before the events of Super Mario World. Because it could also be that the booklet is right, and that this ship is from the events seen in Super Mario Bros. 3. But it's not from one of the koopalings. Because during that game, the Mushroom Kingdom was a very peaceful place, thanks to the brave deeds of Mario and Luigi. But Bowser sent his 7 children to make mischief as they please in the normally peaceful mushroom world around the kingdom. They would steal royal magic wands from each country, and use them to turn their kings into animals. They were basically going from place to place, taking over and creating chaos. Apparently going to every country of the entire world. Now in the end, Mario must recover the royal magic wands from Bowser's 7 kids to return the kings to their true forms. And if they would truly go to all the places in the mushroom world, then Dinosaur Island would also fall under this. But we have never seen Mario go there at all to reverse any damages done by Bowser's forces. And that could be because they never made it. Maybe the ship was traveling to the island long before Mario even thought of going there to have a little vacation. But in the end, it crashed and wasn't really able to take over the island. This would explain why Mario didn't go there during Super Mario Bros. 3. Another thing that would make sense all of a sudden is all the ghosts found there. They would have more than enough time to settle in, and I bet some were also fallen Koopas turned into ghosts. And in Super Mario Bros. 3, we also saw the magic balls, which are also on this ship. So the more you think about it, the more it starts to make sense. Now this doesn't explain why it crashed though, but it could still be that the stone pillars were at fault here. But another option is that the Yoshis found on the island attacked it, and so it ended up crashing. This was the first time the Koopa Troopas went there with an airship after all. However, it could also be that another type of creature or tribe that's more aggressive than the Yoshis attacked them. They're quite passive after all. Now I'm not sure who this could have been, but there are quite a lot of different creatures on the island after all. And even still, the Yoshis know about the Koopa Troopa from the events seen in Yoshi's Island games, where they also fought against them. So maybe they did the same this time. Hey, little side note, there are more videos and playlists in the upper right corner so you can watch more. And also subscribe and click the bell button. Thank you! Now let's continue. One way they could have possibly taken down this machine of war is by throwing their eggs. In the game Yoshi's Island, we see that by swallowing an enemy, Yoshis can lay eggs, which they can carry with them. And using those, they can take out enemies by throwing them at their foes, which even works with big and powerful bosses. So maybe they used this attack to take down the airship when it flew over, and in the end it crashed in the waters around the gateway to Bowser's Valley. It's an option, but we can't be sure about it. The Yoshis never mention it after all, although we don't really speak to them in the game, so we can't know if this even happened. So in the end, we will never know for certain what happened, but we at least have some good options of what could have gone wrong here. Personally, I think the chance is quite high that it's a supply airship that ended up in an accident. A bit of a Titanic scenario, I guess. But do tell me in the comments what you think about it, and don't forget about those glorious videos in the upper right corner.